All right, good day, everyone, especially to our Professor Doc Martha Madrid. And at this point, I will be reporting about the language evolution of Ilocano and Pangasinan. Okay, so let us start first with the Ilocano language. Okay, so I hope my PowerPoint presentation is clear. Okay, so let's start with the Ilocano language. So if we say Ilocano language or Ilocano, okay, this refers to the language and the culture associated with the Ilocano people, of course. And it is the third largest ethnic group in the Philippines. So the native area of the Ilocano is in the northwestern part of Luzon, and it is the defining identity for Ilocos region. Okay? Another one is that Ilocano or Pagsasao nga Ilocano is a member of the Malayo-Polynesian branch of the Austronesian language family spoken in the Philippines. And primarily, it is spoken by the Ilocano people. And as a lingua franca, by the Igorot people and by the native settlers of Cagayan Valley. All right? Another one is that Ilocano is the third most spoken native language in the country. It is the third, actually, the largest language of the Philippines after Tagalog and English. Okay, Ilocanos are um, are of Malay, okay, stock descendants of the Southeast Asian migrants that settled in the Philippines. Okay, families and clans came from Viray or Bilog, meaning boat, and the term Ilocano came from I, meaning from, and Luok, meaning cove or bay. Thus, people of the bay. That is the meaning of the word Ilocano. So, Ilocanos also refer to themselves as Samtoy. It's actually a contraction from the Ilocano phrase sa umiditoy, just like that, meaning our language here, just like that. And Ilocano is a very expansive language family believed to originate in Taiwan. And Ilocano comprises its own branch within the Philippines, particularly on the Cordilleran language subfamily. Okay? Now, Ilocano, just like what we have said a while back, is a lingua franca of northern Luzon and many parts of central Luzon. And it is spoken as their secondary language by more than 2 million people who are native speakers of Ibanag, Ivatan, Pangasinan, and even Sambal and other languages. Okay? Now, let's move to the Ilocano geographic distribution. So as you can see in our map, okay, Ilocanos actually occupy the narrow or the barren strip of land in the northwestern tip of Luzon, is squeezed in between the inhospitable Cordillera mountain range to the east and the South China Sea to the west. So this harsh geography molded the people known for their clannishness or tenacious industry and frugality traits, and even traits that were vital to survival. So it is also induced Ilocanos to become a migratory people, and always in search for better opportunities and for land to build a life on. Although their homeland constitutes the provinces of Ilocos Norte, we have Ilocos Sur, and parts of La Union and Abra. And their population has spread from east and south of their original territorial borders. Another one is that Ilocano pioneers flocked to the more fertile island or fertile place in Cagayan Valley and the Pangasinan Plains during the 18th centuries or even 19th centuries. And now, it constitutes a majority in many of these areas. Now, in the 20th century, many Ilocano families have already moved further, uh, actually on the south to Mindanao. Okay, they became the first Filipino ethnic group to immigrate to North America also, and they are called the Manong generation, forming sizable communities in the American states of Hawaii, California, Washington, and even in Alaska. So, nagkalat ng mga Ilocanos. Okay? So, Ilocano is the native language of the most Filipino immigrants in the United States. Marami din tayong kilala, mga kaibigan, na pumupunta ng States na they are actually Ilocanos. Alright? But Tagalog is used by more Filipino Americans because it is the national language of the Philippines. But according to a mainstream in a daily newspaper published in Honolulu, Hawaii, Ilocanos make up more than 90% of the Filipino population in the whole state of Hawaii. Okay? Making Iloco as the top language in demand for English as a second language in ESL teachers. So marami tayong napapansin, marami tayong mga kaibigan, kamag-anak na pag sinabi nating Hawaii, okay, talagang madaming Ilocano doon. Hindi natin ipagkakailayan na madaming Pilipino doon. Okay? And of course, specifically, they are Ilocanos. Alright? Another one, we have the Ilocano speaking density per province. Let's take a look on this. So the language spoken, or the language is spoken in the Ilocos region, particularly also on the Babuyan Islands, the Cordillera Administrative Region, Cagayan Valley, northern parts of Central Luzon, even Batanes and some parts of Mindoro, and scattered areas in Mindanao. Madami po akong kilalang taga Mindanao na puro Ilocano. We have, of course, mga kilala nating sa kapulisan, lahat nasa Mindanao na sila, particularly on the Soxargen region. So the language is also spoken in the United States, particularly in Hawaii, yung sinasabi natin kanina, and even California, having the largest number of speakers, including Canada. So it is also said that in September 2012, or 2012, I should say, that the province of La Union passed an ordinance recognizing Ilocano or Iloco as an official provincial language, alongside with Filipino as a national language and English, of course, as co-official language nationwide. And of course, it is the first province in the Philippines to pass an ordinance protecting and revitalizing a native language. Although there are other languages spoken in La Union, not only Iloco, including Pangasinan, Kankanai actually today, talagang nagdi-disappear na siya. Parang iilan na lang yung tawag dito, nagsasalita about that. That's why they're having a research about Kankanai na sana ma-preserve natin yung Kankanai. And of course, Ibaloy. Alright? Now, aside from this, there are actually three things you may not know about Ilocano. Ayan, tatlong bagay mga kaibigan. The first one is, it says here, not all Filipino immigrants in the US speak Filipino. Ito yung sinasabi natin kanina, na if you know a bit about the Philippines, you would probably know that Filipino is the national language. But that doesn't mean that it's the only language spoken in America, for example, or in the United States. So if you come across any Filipino immigrants who arrived anytime in the past centuries, they probably speak Filipino or Tagalog, but that wasn't always the case. Okay? So anong nangyayari? The Ilocano people of the Northern Luzon were some of the first Filipinos to immigrate to the US. So bringing their language and culture with them, particularly, for example, in Hawaii, in California, okay, and other parts of the western US. In fact, most of the immigrants in the first wave, okay, ang tinutukoy ko po is the first wave of the immigration from the Philippines to the US actually spoke Ilocano. Okay. Pangalawa, Ilocano borrows many words from Spanish. Okay. Though you can find words borrowed from other languages as well as such as, for example, Arabic or Sanskrit and even English. Spanish probably had the greatest, okay, influence on Ilocano and other Filipino languages. This is probably largely due to the Spanish colonization of the area in the Philippines particularly, which left marks the what we're seeing today, okay? And many common phrases in Ilocano or in Ilocano sounds like slightly modified Spanish, such as the greetings or, for example, the how are you? Parang ganon, which is kumusta, okay? In Ilocano, for example, but in Spanish, it's como estas, just like that in Spanish. So days of the weeks, months, and even numbers referring to age are all words that originally borrowed from Spanish. Numbers for measurement, however, are all native Ilocano words. There are therefore two separate number systems that we are using in the Ilocano native words, and of course from the borrowed words in Spanish words, just like that. Okay. Another one is the oldest story from the Philippines to not be lost or destroyed during colonialism, colonialism was written in Ilocano. Now, in Ilocano literature, for example, we all know that Ilocano literature is rich and very varied, okay? But there is one piece in particular that stands out, okay? Probably because it survived the Spanish colonial period. Okay? Ito lang yung nag-survive actually na Ilocano literature na palaging, let's just say, very common sa atin ngayon. And it is an epic poem called Biyag ni Lamang. I hope everybody talagang alam natin to, which means the life of Lamang, okay, in English. So it actually reflects of the values and beliefs of the Ilocano people, including the loyalty, the hard work, and the importance of family. Okay? So pag binabasa mo yung Biyag ni Lamang, talagang ito yung mga bagay na makikita mo. The poem was transcribed for the first time around the year 1640, I think, and tells the story of a precious baby boy who goes off to search for his father. Okay? After he doesn't return from battle, the poem goes on to describe the boy's entire life, including his marriage and even his death. Parang ganun. Alright? So yon. So those are the three things that you may not know about Ilocano. Alright? So let's move on to Pangasinan language. Medyo familiar ako sa Ilocano, but in Pangasinan, meron din, of course. Okay, so Pangasinan language, okay, or Salitan Pangasinan, or in Spanish idioma Pangasinense, is actually an Austronesian language, which is one of the 12 major languages in the Philippines. So the Pangasinan is the name of the language, or for the language, for the people and the province. And the Pangasinan language, also known as Pangasinense, is being Hispanicized, okay, and it is spoken by more than 1.5 million Pangasinan people or indigenous speakers in the province of Pangasinan alone. Okay, so Pangasinan is also spoken in other Pangasinan communities in the Philippines, just like Ilocano. Okay, kalat din yung mga taga Pangasinan or yung Pangasinense language natin, not only in Pangasinan, of course, kalat din sila in any other parts of the Philippines, and not only in the Philippines, but of course, even outside the Philippines, particularly sa US, just like that. Okay? Pangasinan is the primary language in the province of Pangasinan, located on the west central area of the island of Luzon along Lingayen Gulf. It is the official regional language in the province of Pangasinan. Like that. Another one is that the indigenous speakers of Pangasinense are descendants of these prehistoric settlers, okay, who were probably part of the prehistoric humans migration that is widely believed to have originated from southern, okay, China via Taiwan about 100 to 200,000 years ago. So just like the Ilocano, sabi nila na it originated in Taiwan. Same with Pangasinan, right? So the word Pangasinan, ladies and gentlemen, means land of salt, okay? Or place of salt making. Okay? I can still remember in in Alaminos, particularly in Burgos, okay? They have this place wherein doon sila gumagawa ng asin. Na asin, napakaluwang na lugar na doon na sila gumagawa ng asin. So, it is derived from the root word asin, the word for salt in Pangasinan. Okay? Pangasinan could also refer to a container or container of salt or a salted product. So it refers to the ceramic jar, yung pinaglalagyan, for storage of salt or salted products or its contents. Just like that. Another one is Pangasinan language is very closely related to Ibaloy language, spoken in the neighboring provinces of Benguet and, of course, Baguio City, located on the north part of Pangasinan. So, Pangasinan is classified under the Pangasinistic or Pangasinic group of languages. And Pangasinic languages are the Pangasinan, the Ibaloy, the Karaw, the Iwak. I don't know if this is Iwak or Iwak, the Kalanguya, the Kalay, Kalyahan, Kayapa, or Tinok. Okay, I'm not actually familiar about this specific Pangasinic languages. All right. Okay. Another one is um, Pangasinense is just like what we have said a while back, that it is an Ausonesian language and one of the 8 major languages of the Philippines. It is primary and predominant language of the entire province of Pangasinan. Particularly also, isama na natin yung northern Tarlac because as per experience, may naririnig din ako from Tarlac na still they are using Pangasinense. Just like that. And of course, Pangasinan is also spoken in the southern western part of La Union, as well as in the municipalities of Benguet, Nueva Vizcaya, Nueva Ecija, and even Zambales and of course, that border of Pangasinan. Okay? A few Aita, all right? A few Aita groups in central Luzon or in the northern part of Luzon also understand and even speak Pangasinan as well. Now, nung pumunta kami mga kaibigan sa mga classmates and sa isang part ng Zambales before when we have our trekking, I heard some Aitas really spoke Pangasinense. So familiar din sila sa Pangasinense, all right? And of course, Pangasinan is the name of the province, the people, and the spoken language. So indigenous Pangasinan speakers are estimated to number at least 2 million na nagsasalita ng Pangasinense. And the Pangasinan language, which is official in the province, is one of the official recognized regional languages in the Philippines. Sikat din, just like Ilocano, Pangasinense, pag sinabi nating Pangasinense, talagang sikat din siya, mga kaibigan. So in the Pangasinan, there were several ethnic groups that enrich the cultural fabric of the province, and almost all the people are Pangasinans, and the rest are descendants of Bulinao and Ilocano that settled the eastern and western parts of the province. That's Pangasinan. And of course, Pangasinan is spoken as the second language by many of the ethnic minorities in Pangasinan, and the secondary ethnic groups or the Bilinao-speaking Sambals, and of course the Ilocanos. If you will go to La Union, there are actually some of our or more, as in napakadami ng mga kakilala namin dito na they know how to speak Pangasinan or Pangasinense. Even our co-teachers, ladies and gentlemen, they know how to speak Pangasinense. Lalo na pag nakipag-usap sila sa mga kabahay nila sa Pangasinan, they really speak Pangasinense. Alright? So, here are my references. Okay, so thank you so much for listening. Maraming salamat po.